The Intramural Open is a two-brain business original. Chris Cooper's been doing this event at his gym since the early 2010s, and we publish a guide about it every single year. It is without a doubt the best way to make competition fun at your gym. There are three goals. You want to give your clients a party, you want to show them that they're winning, and you want to ensure that they're fired up to keep training with you long term. The goal is not to find the fittest person in the universe, it's to ensure your clients smile, and you want to generate some revenue while you do it because you're running a business. If you use our 2025 guide to run this event in late February or early March, you can improve retention and generate revenue for your business. Chris Cooper's ebook on the 2025 Intramural Open is out now. You can get it by sending him a DM. You got to go to gymownersunited.com, look Coop up. He's all over the place there with pinned posts. Send him a DM, gymownersunited.com. The short version of the Intramural Open, you divide your gym up into teams, you run a fun multi-week competition. The emphasis is on fun and smiles. Now you can sync this up with the CrossFit Open or not. It's your choice. If you're not a CrossFit gym, no problem. Coop's made it even easier this year to run the event because he's programmed workouts for you for the very first time. You don't have to wait for event announcements or worry about gear. You just have the events. You can plan around them right now. So get that book. Today, an A-plus gym owner is going to tell us how he runs the Intramural Open at his gym and give us some tips for success. He's going to talk about revenue retention, so stick around. This is Run a Profitable Gym. I'm Mike Warkenden. Hit subscribe. You do not want to miss more episodes like this in the new year of 2025. Brian Foley runs Activate in Ireland. I had the pleasure of hanging out with him in Columbus, Ohio a couple months ago and hanging out in person. He is a great guy, and he crushes the Intramural Open every year. So we're going to talk about how you, listener, can do the exact same thing. Brian, it's Irish afternoon, Canadian morning. How are you?
I'm great, Mike. How are you?
I'm great too. We were just talking about how, later on today, and we're going to taste some fine Irish whiskey to celebrate the season. But first, we're going to make revenue and for gym owners, and then we're going to boost their retention. So, Brian, I'm bringing it in right off the top. How do you get revenue into your business through the Intramural Open? What do you do?
Absolutely. So we don't charge for the Opens, but we do gain revenue indirectly from the Open. So from the very get-go in 2017, when we picked up this intramural guide, we were like, okay, how are we going to weigh this up and figure out how we do it? What we do is between 6 and 8 weeks prior to the Open, so around this time of year, we launch gymnastics programs and Olympic weightlifting programs, because typically they are the two things that people will struggle with most running up to the CrossFit Open. So yeah, we've always got a big boost from signups for those programs prior to the Open.
Okay. And I'm just going to, as Brian chats a little bit about some of this stuff, I'm going to share some screen grabs from the Intramural Open guide. Again, you can DM Chris Cooper to get this thing on if you go on Facebook. This is one thing you can do. So before the Open skill work, we all know if you're in a CrossFit gym, for example, everyone needs kipping, handstand push-ups, muscle ups, pull-ups, all sorts of gymnastic stuff. The snatch, clean and jerk, overhead squat, all that stuff always shows up. You know that people want to work on it. These are also areas of passion for a ton of people. Gymnastics and Olympic weightlifting stuff is good any time of year, but especially when people have an emotional attachment to it before a competition. So Brian will charge in advance for that. Do you have any details? Like, what is your basic structure for that? Is it like, 10 people, $250 for 6 weeks, or what do you do there?
Exactly. So typically 10 to 12 people in and around that $200 for that period of time. Coach makes some good revenue from it. Coach makes some good income from it, and the business makes some income from it as well. And we typically use the goal setting, so our member check-ins and goal setting sessions as the guiding light for that. So if a lot of people are struggling with one particular movement, we will emphasize that as part of the program. So if it's a handstand push-up, for example, we will look at a 6-week block of handstand work. And we typically use what our members are telling us to, bring them what they want, essentially.
And that's wise any time of the year, right? Like, you're just having these goal review sessions with your clients. And if several of them say, hey, I really want to get better at running, or I'm going to do this 5K run that's coming up in my area, you're like, I should run a running prep group, right? And you just tack on some additional revenue through a specialty program. That's good policy at any time of the year. It's even better right now when you're tying this to an event, which is a really, really big deal. Now, Brian, you said you don't charge. We have gyms that do charge. And so obviously, if people do the CrossFit Open, they're going to pay a registration fee that goes to CrossFit Inc., not to your gym. But we recommend that gyms charge a fee if they run this thing. And here's why. This is not membership. This is an additional thing that you can do and it's a lot of work. Like, we've found ways to streamline this over the years, but I remember when I first started doing the Open, I think I put in like 60 or 80 hours. And I think that year was like 6 weeks or something like that. And we were destroyed. Like, by the end of it, we were done. Eventually, the Open has changed and it's evolved a little bit and it's a little bit less stressful and so forth. But still, if you're going to put on this, 4-week, month-long party for your members and you're going to score and add value, you can charge like $40, $30, $50. You don't have to, but it is a way to recoup some of the costs. We have some gyms that do this. We have some gyms that don't do this. It depends on you. The thing that I'll tell you is that it's in the guide. Don't charge more than $50. People start to get a little about that because they don't, it's like, especially a bad one is say charging $50 and then tacking on a t-shirt and saying it's $70. Charge a maximum of $50 or less. And if you sell retail, do that completely separately, but stay clear of those like larger numbers for this, but you can charge a fee. We do have some people that do that. The key is to build the value. So people aren't saying, what did I pay $50 for? They need to walk out and say, I can't believe I paid only $50 for this party. It was incredible, and you can use that money, that revenue to like buy some prizes, do some extra stuff, bring in a photographer if you want, give people photos, have a meal, whatever. There's all sorts of ways to make this work. But the thing that I really like, Brian, what you said, before the Open prep work. How about this? Do you sell retail? Do you sell t-shirts and things like that around the Intramural Open?
Yeah, so we typically divide the whole gym into 4 teams, and each of the teams designs their own t-shirt, and then we use that as a retail opportunity. So typically see sales of t-shirts, sales of things like chalk, tape, all that kind of stuff boosts just before the Open. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's not like huge. We're not talking huge money. You're not going to make $20,000 on retail items, but every dollar counts. And if you're going to sell the stuff during the Open. Forever Fierce is our preferred vendor for that stuff. They can print stuff up for you very regularly. Other things that Brian mentioned that are critical, and this is not, maybe you don't look at it and say, this is a ton of money right now, but post-competition goal setting and prescription. So we recommend that gyms do goal review sessions all the time. Brian just talked about that. He does that regularly. It's not just a once in a year or once in a lifetime thing. But after the Open, meet with your participants and you say, hey, in that last workout, I saw you were frustrated with your pull-ups. With some personal training over the next 8 weeks, I think we can get you to that goal of 5 kipping pull-ups in a row. What do you think? That works like a charm. And all you're doing is helping clients accomplish goals, which they now have because they have an emotional attachment to this thing in the Open. So technically, Brian, in your, like when you talk to clients after your Intramural Open, how do those goal setting sessions go for you?
Yeah, so they're usually the best goal setting sessions of the year because someone's achieved something that they previously were not able to do, or they've probably just fallen a little bit short of something that they've wanted to do. So it's a perfect opportunity to sit someone down, chat to them about what they've just accomplished and give them a big kudos for that. Obviously, put them on a platform for that. And that's one of the main things we do with the Intramural Open every year is give people a platform to celebrate their wins. But then obviously as well, anything that they want to achieve for the next year, it just sets their sights and it pushes the horizon out for 12 months. What are we doing for the next Open? So people aren't just thinking about a quick short-term fix. And it's really an amazing goal-setting session, that one straight after the Open. So what we do is we open up the calendar after the Open for more goal-setting sessions than we normally do.
I love it because, and this is what I want to lead in. So this is revenue stuff. Retention is also revenue. You don't see it right away, but every month that a client stays at your gym, it's more revenue. So Brian just said, like, what are we working on for the next Open? That client's thinking 12 months in advance and 12 months of training at your gym to accomplish goals. What a huge retention tool. Brian, before the show, you told me an incredible stat from your business about what the Intramural Open does for retention. What is it?
Yeah, exactly. So we mentioned that we don't charge for it, but we do make money from the Open indirectly. So if someone does the Intramural Open at my gym, they are 3 times more likely to stay another year in the gym.
Wow. Now that is an earth-shattering stat because that's basically boosting your length of engagement by 12 months just by doing this event and talking to them about it.
Exactly. So yeah, we absolutely the whole team gets bought into recruitment. It's a big recruitment drive from Christmas to the Open every year.
I want to hear about how you do that. But first, tell me a little bit about how you make retention such an important part of this. Like you said, podiums and celebrating. Like, talk to me about how you make your clients feel like superheroes during this event so they want to stay all year.
So, Mike, I know people can't really see on the podcast, but I'm holding up a giant silver cup.
It's large,
so you got to
right?
go to YouTube. Yeah. So you got to go to YouTube to see that. But yeah, we make it like we're not the most competitive gym in the world.
Right.
It's not about competition, and intramural sports is not a thing in Ireland. It's just not done. But like when we saw this, the novelty factor of people competing for fun, for points, it's absolutely huge. So we make them feel, like a lot of our members might have stopped playing sports, in their teens, maybe into their 20s, and they haven't experienced the thrill of winning or competing at something that they could potentially win in decades. So it's huge. It gives them an opportunity to celebrate with the people that they work out with every day, to see people that they work out with every day in a different environment, in a different light. And it gives us the opportunity to put them doing a workout alone where their peers are watching them, not so much alone, but where people are actually watching them and celebrating what they can do, and really, putting them on that pedestal and making them feel special and giving them extra high fives and, calling their name out, making them feel like they're part of something bigger.
Yeah, and there are ways to do this. Like you can set up different divisions where you have like a scale division and an RX division or as prescribed division. You can set up masters, you set up kids, you can set up all these different divisions, and then you can work in point scoring opportunities, not just for the top three, but also for like spirit of the open or coolest things that are happening. Like when I was running the Intramural Open in my gym, we would give people points for booking a goal review session. That was a big one. Or doing a client testimonial. I'd sit people down with a microphone and say, why do you love my gym? And if they did that, I'd give them an extra 5 points. Or leaving a Google review, I would do that, Facebook review. There are all these different ways that you can incentivize people to do the stuff that you want, which is reviews and stuff. But also I would give away just prizes just for being awesome. Like, you know what, Tim, you were cheering so loudly when Cynthia was trying to finish her workout. I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'm going to award you a bonus point. And then from there, you start celebrating your clients in all these different ways where I would always take pictures and we would make trading cards out of them, put banners on them. And we would just celebrate our clients accomplishing amazing things. Now, I'll tell you a mistake I made. 1 year during the Open, we used to be very competitive, Jim. And this was in the early days. We had a ton of competitors. We had a team that was going to go to regionals. We had a bunch of individual competitors that went to regionals. We focused way too much on the competitors. And after the Open, I lost about 30 or 35 members. And they were just burned out by the whole thing. They didn't feel special because all the attention was on the superstars. And I thought, what have I done to my business? When we changed it to the Intramural Open concept and made it fun and celebrated everyone and didn't emphasize competition, everything got better. Retention was better. We made some money. The smiles were there. I didn't lose members. I actually held on to them. So you can do it wrong. Can also do it right. Tell me a little bit about how many people you get to participate in your gym. Is it like, do you get all of them and draft them all into teams, or what do you do?
Pretty much. So we typically get about 150 people signed up to our Intramural Open. And we're aiming for more than that this year. Wow. And something you said a second ago, Mike, it is a lot of work for the team, but if you share that and you split your gym into 4 teams, you can give every team a week of, doing food. And that's actually the most competitive division in our gym is the cooking. So we do like a potluck and people are like, try to outdo each other's brownies or, every year. So like it takes a lot of the load off the team. And like there's a week where everyone's got to judge. There's a week where everyone's got to set out the floor and clean up. So, it's a big community event. But yeah, we try to get like 150 plus people participating every year.
That is amazing. And I'm going to show you, this is what your captains should look like. It should look like something like this. You're not looking for the super stud, elite athlete, super serious. You want fun people. Your captains should be the people in your gym that people just gravitate toward. They're the lead. They're kind of the leaders, but they're also just the very social people who have a good time. And I had one teacher in my gym, for example, and I said, do you want to be one of our Intramural Open captains? And she looks at me and says, Mike, I was born for this. And she just destroyed it. Like, she had the gear for her team. They had hats. We had another team. They named themselves the Breakfast Club after the movie. And they all had themed gear around that movie with like the hand in the air from the famous scene at the end. They had chants and apparel and, songs. Like it was just an incredible thing. And this thing will take over your gym. Like we had another team that decided they would bring in a bagpiper. And so when we announced them, they came in with bagpipes playing and they marched around the gym to a set of bagpipes. We had another guy and he was a financial wizard. And so he didn't want to do the fun stuff. He's just like, I'm going to use money to make this happen. And so he had like people come into the gym and start singing like join his team kind of stuff. Like he would just do t-shirts and all these other things. The captains will make or break this event. And the best part is they will take the stress off your coaches and you because they carry the load and they get to have this position of honor, which is a really cool thing. We also have in a Chris Cooper's guide, ways to not stress out about the Open, because we've all done it. There we have a survival tips section where it'll help you figure out exactly how to reduce the load. Brian, do you have a number one tip? Like, do you delegate to your staff, or how do you avoid getting sucked into this as the owner and just like losing every Friday for the rest of your life?
Yeah, so me and my wife Roisin, we learned that lesson hard the first 2 years. Like you can burn out so hard doing this. It's a lot of fun, but you don't actually realize until it's all over. Man, that was so tough. So yeah, I produce like an in-house open guide for my team every year. I delegate, so each of my coaches is managing essentially one of the teams to make sure that they've got everything they need, they've done their t-shirts, they've got all their orders in, all that stuff is done. And then the team captains, like you mentioned, we always have a running joke. Every year you could pick the team captain at our Christmas party because they're usually the person that's working the room. Yeah. So it's always that social butterfly. They're the best team captains. But yeah, if you pick the right people and your coaches are very clear on what is going to happen and what the timelines are, it takes so much of that cognitive load off the owner before the Open. And every week, just have it really clear who's doing what, when does it happen? Just have very clear timelines and communicate everything. It takes so much of the pressure off.
Yeah, and I'm going to show you this, exactly what Brian said. So I'll show you this one more time here. This is a tentative schedule. You can run this however you want. So in our guide, we have this thing here. You've got now to February 27th. You can launch pre-open programs, advertise, registration, select scoring system, captains, draft day, recruiting period. Then we've got the workouts 1, 2, 3, 4. You can coordinate this with the CrossFit Open, or you don't have to. And then you've got March 31st launch open program. So you can use all this stuff is laid out how to do it in this guide. So you can take this calendar and use this stuff to stay on track, exactly like Brian said. And like I was telling you guys, we have workouts programmed for you. So we've got, pre-open activities. This is the stuff that Chris has laid out. This is exactly what you should do. And then you've got workouts. Chris has programmed some very simple workouts that are going to be easy for you. You're going to have the gear and you can just run this stuff. We took space in mind. We took time in mind. You don't have to wait for an announcement and say, ooh, I don't have a 72-pound dumbbell. You can just be like, I have this, we're good, or sub it out or program your own stuff. It all works really, really well. So get this guide, Chris Cooper, DM him on Facebook, Gym Owners United. You can do that. Brian, what are your top tips? Do you have anything? We've covered a bunch of them. Do you have any additional stuff that can help someone who's out there think about, maybe they haven't run it for the first time? What would you tell them to make this a success?
Definitely get the guide. Follow what's in the guide. I've seen and heard of people doing stuff their own kind of way, but this is tried and tested. It works. We don't really do it any differently to what's in that guide every year. Like we pick maybe something new each year to add, but we don't really change it that much. Top tips are make it fun. Make it inclusive. That if you just make it elitist and it's all about, muscle ups and the stuff that most people can't do, then it's going to be very exclusion. It's going to be very exclusive, and you just want this thing to be as inclusive as possible. You want it to be fun. You want to make sure that the intimidation levels are as low as possible. So pitch it to everybody. So like you said, if you're doing the CrossFit Open, it's 3 weeks. Add a 4th week and make it something fun. Make it something that everybody can do. If there's a RX, a scaled, and a foundations division, if people are doing foundations, they're not going to be going to the CrossFit Games. So cut them some slack. Give them a foundations, another level that everybody can participate. Everyone can do something. Make it about spirit. Make it about fun. Make sure you award points for things like spirit. And that's a huge one every year. The team who has the best colors, the team who supports the best, the person who's spirit of the Open. It's typically a big honor to be that person, and just make it a real inclusive and fun event. Try to make sure that it aligns with your gym's values and that it is, something that people feel that they can be part of and that they look forward to next year. Make it fun and make sure that your team are bought into it as well, because your coaches, if you have coaches, make up such a huge part of this. And if they enjoy it, make sure that, that bleeds into the rest of the community. If they're burnt out from it and you put too much on them and they don't find it fun, well, then it's not going to be fun for everyone either.
Mm-hmm. And a tip I'll give you, I'll piggyback on what you said. If you do this and make it super fun, take some pictures, do some interviews when people are smiling and happy, and use that to promote your gym the entire year, and then promote your Intramural Open in 2026. And some of the best marketing materials I ever got came from our Intramural Open events, because you had these pictures of people doing cool stuff in crazy costumes or smiling. One night we had people show up in formal wear, And then we had them do their workouts, and we did before and after pictures. So they come in dressed to the nines, makeup done, then they leave and the mascara is like bleeding off their faces and everything. And we did these but they were still happy, right? We did these great marketing pictures. You can definitely do this. The thing that I like what you said, Brian, is make it inclusive. And so what we did with the workouts that we programmed here in this guide, Chris tried to make it just stuff that people can do. Again, we're not trying to find the fittest person in the world, right? We're doing like a super meet, which is Chris's thing where he's got 6 or 7 different lifts. And they're just like, you're going to do your best squat. Everyone has a best squat and they can feel good about it. You're going to see some PRs. That's incredible. High rocks, Brian, that is big out in Europe, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, you could include a high rocks workout.
And we themed one like that.
Yeah,
we themed one. We just took some of the pieces of high rocks. Like you can't do all the stuff with the sled push and stuff necessarily with whatever, but we put in a couple of things where you could like do some farmer carries and just some of the stuff that you see in that event that people love that you can do in a small space in your gym. So the idea is maximum participation. I love the idea of a final event. Chris has talked about doing an escape room sometimes, or like he had biathlon Olympics where you're shooting like Nerf guns at paper plates or something like that and doing penalty loops on the row or things like that. Like I've seen flip cup Olympics, like all sorts of really, really cool ideas. The goal is to make it a party. As we seal this up, I'm going to go back to say, Brian, you've got, what was your revenue, your prime revenue generator for the Open is?
Retention.
Yep.
It's definitely retention. So like if you want to calculate that out, it's for every month that someone stays extra, multiplied by your average revenue per member.
Yeah, and you said your people you said your people are 3 times more likely to stay for another year if they do this.
Yeah, that's worth far more than any new marketing fad that's going to bring 30 new members into my gym. If I can just hold on to 30 more members, it makes complete and utter sense. Yeah. I mean, something else you said there, Mike, like about making it inclusive is we run a master's division. So like we've got a big master's program and a kids program. So like get the whole family involved. If people bring their kids and people bring their parents, I mean, it creates an even better event. And then obviously making sure that people are sharing this thing and that it is, something that you can use to leverage your own social media. We're lucky in Ireland because it falls on Paddy's Day, normally one of the weekends of the CrossFit Open. So we usually leverage off that and have a lot of fun with that weekend.
No beer at all.
Absolutely not. We have it at 8 a.m. in the morning so that no one can have any alcohol on board.
I understand exactly. But you bring up a great point. If you can make this an event, make your gym spectator friendly, get some kids, run a kids heat. Like that's something Chris has done at his gym, run a master's heat, bring your friends and family. If someone comes to watch one of your members participate in this thing, they're very likely to join your gym. Chris once said that he ran a kids heat and right after that, they ran their most successful program of all time, simply because parents brought kids who weren't clients into the gym for this fun event and they gave them medals and all sorts of other stuff. And then all of a sudden their kids program exploded. Not a coincidence, right? There's all sorts of ways. And Brian also did another thing that his revenue, a lot of it comes from, well, I won't say a lot of it because retention is his main driver, but he does generate revenue by doing pre-open skill sessions and skill work. It's very easy for you to do that, especially if you know the workouts in advance. You can say, hey, we're doing this thing. We're doing thrusters in this workout coming up. Let's work on your thruster technique so that you don't feel intimidated about it. Let's book some PT. There's tons of ways to do this. Brian, thank you so much for laying this out for us. I love it. I hope I hope to see some media come out of your gym. Where can people follow your antics if they want to see what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's at activate.ie on Instagram. It's probably the easiest place to find us.
Check them out and see what's up. And I would highly recommend exactly what Brian said. Go get Chris Cooper's guide, DM him on Facebook or go to gymownersunited.com. Brian, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
That was Brian Foley. This is Run a Profitable Gym. Thank you for listening. On your way out the door, please hit subscribe so you don't miss a single show like this. We will help you build your business every week. Can't ask you enough. Hit subscribe, hit a like, come back and see us. And now, here's Chris Cooper with a final message.
Hey, it's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a quick note. We created the Gym Owners United Facebook group to help you run a profitable gym. Thousands of gym owners just like you have already joined. In the group, we share sound advice about the business of fitness every day. I answer questions, I run free webinars, and I give away all kinds of great resources to help you grow your gym. I'd love to have you in that group. It's Gym Owners United on Facebook or go to gymownersunited.com to join. Do it today.